Welcome to
Welcome to
Banging and
Hanging and a
Jiving.
Jiving.
Episode 7, Junior gets a Patron.
Okay.
Now, you go ahead and sum it up.
Okay. So JJ so JJ gets a patron.
Oh, no.
And actually it was and the patron is a rival, an old rival from James's old rival. So and JJ moves out because James told him that if he accepts, help from the guy that was his rival, that he can live her, and so he moved out. Pretty much that's it, right?
I thought James acted a little bit over the board with, you know, him, JJ getting a Patron, that from a guy, old friend that he had a grudge against because he owed him money. And I just thought we just took it a little bit overboard by letting JJ like walk out or whatever. um
Yeah, I thought it
and
was.
I'll have a little bit more when we finish, when we're like, what would we change, because there's something uh the executive producer brother wrote in his notes that I absolutely agree with. So
So basically, so starting on the episode real quickly is that so JJ's on the couch sleeping, and Florida's mad at him. She's fussing at him about his art supplies being all over the place, being
yeah,
in the kitchen and everywhere, and she's almost cooked with a turpentine. JJ's taking a nap, which is interesting that the executive producer brother brought up that, these kids are always at home.
yeah,
I mean,
because Dylan
maybe,
goes in on him too about his paint stuff in the way, and they argue about that.
yeah. So, um, JJ, just talks about how he has a patron, and people are, the family's surprised that he's got one, and he says, he's paying for my paints. And I'm like,
Mhm.
shouldn't you ask your parents before you get a patron? Shouldn't you supposed to ask your parents, hey, is it okay that I have that? Permission for that? You just can't be like, oh yeah, you're my patron. And
Oh,
I mean, your parents should kind of look in, kind of sort of, kind of
I guess.
huh?
Yeah, I never really thought about that.
You just have somebody random be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pay. Well, in today's standards, you wouldn't do that. You
Let
just be like,
me tell you, these paints, and JJ, the character was painting in oil paints, and oil paints are expensive. So I don't know how he was getting, before he got the patron. I don't know how he was getting money
he was
for.
finding them.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, yeah. That's the running joke. He's finding them. So. Mm-mm.
So yeah, so I guess my thing is just like, if you guys in these day and age, you just don't allow somebody just to give you money for
Yeah,
whatever. But so he's got a patron. It's already established. He's got his own studio, place to paint his paintings, and he's got money coming in. So James is like, well, who is this guy? And he's like, it's Jackson. He's like, which Jackson? Leroy
Lee.
Jackson. And so James is like, oh, is that the same Leroy from 20 years? And I guess it is, since, there's like only one Leroy Johnson Jackson in Chicago. I mean, come on, Leroy Jackson, that's got to be like 500 at least. Um,
Yeah,
so, so basically, you know, Leroy comes to the door, and it's the same Leroy Jackson from 20 years
yeah,
ago. He still has it's the guy that took, I guess James had an extra $250 and lent it to him so that they could open a gas station, and Leroy took it, stole it. Funny how James had $250 then, but doesn't have $250 now. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, he didn't have a family, he didn't have a wife, and I don't know.
3 years ago? Maybe not.
20, this was before they got married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or maybe they were dating or whatever. This before he had kids. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, so Leroy's trying to explain himself, and James is just not trying to hear it, and he's like, "Get the hell out of my
Yeah,
house!" And
but
the guy's like,
the your our executive brother notes he was kind of right on because he was right on. He was kind of right on
"He's right on."
because he was like, why didn't that type of money? Why didn't he like try to track him down or do more in getting that money back? Because back then, that was a lot of money. For me, that's a lot of money now. For me, somebody borrowed $250, and I don't know where they at. I'm gonna try to track them down.
I
Even
mean, at least
today,
for at least a year.
that huh?
I mean, sure, for a year he tried. Probably he may have. This just wasn't included in the story.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, at least a year you try to find out where this person is, and then after 5 years,
yeah,
you just got to give up, I guess. But
yeah,
so, but I guess he remembered. I guess some people hold grudges like that. I don't know. Oh,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking to Scorpio. Anyway, um, so JJ. So I guess James is saying that he couldn't, that he needs to drop him as a patron, and JJ refuses. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah.
And
He's like, I'm not gonna, this is a good thing that's happening to me. He was like, and that's the truth. Like JJ was like, what does that got to do with me? And this guy is trying to help me, with the payment. And that kind of might be a way of the Leroy of paying paying James back by helping out his son. That's how you repay. That's how that he's repaying you the
the debt.
the $250.
That's true. That's true. That could be another way. He could have said it. That's what he may have came in to say. James wouldn't give a chance. He could have came in and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, but let me, make it up by helping your son."
Yeah,
But James is too prideful, whatever.
yeah,
So, you know, JJ doesn't back down, and he moves out. And,
mhm,
I'm like, what's the big deal about that? So he moves out. I
yeah,
mean, don't most kids by the time some kids go out on their own by 16, right? Didn't Bologna do that? Remember,
yeah,
well, in the later episodes, she was scraping and scraping to
yeah,
Kim Field's mom. Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
um, so and weren't they were well, no, they weren't. We don't know if they were teenage parents, so that hasn't been out yet. But or did we do the math on that? Anyway,
yeah.
so yeah,
So JJ moves out,
yeah,
and then the Thelma and Michael is still pleading with and Florida. They're all still trying to beg James stop being stubborn and let this man help JJ and get JJ back home.
yeah.
They're being a little uh uh I guess Michael is like being a little sarcastic or whatever. And both
Oh
of them
yeah,
like,
you started with the sarcastic. Shoot, I don't think I could talk to my parents like that. The sarcasm, I'd be
yeah,
like,
like
yeah, yeah, would have got popped in the mouth
yeah, yeah, for sure.
just for being
And then
flippant.
Florida, she's like, I ain't got no time for breakfast. I'm about to go to church. When she doesn't go to church, she goes over to the boutique to check on JJ. And she gets to the boutique, and JJ is well, before she gets there, you know, JJ is like he can't concentrate. He's missing the noise, or and Thelma and everybody else bugging him or whatever. Like, he's just missing his noisy family, that's always around him while he paints. So he can't really concentrate and paint. And so Mr. Jackson comes in and offers, oh, let me get the radio, get some music. So he goes downstairs or whatever. And then in the meantime, Florida comes, checks on JJ, and before she went in, JJ making up some crazy skit, talking to himself, making believe that he's at home, yelling at Thelma, just trying to get that environment so he help him paint. And then Florida comes in, and he's like, she's saying misses him or whatever, and then James comes in, and yeah, your brother's like, you he was like, how did Florida and James miss Mr. Jackson downstairs? They came up so quick, and they whatever. Anyway, that's a little tidbit that
Maybe he was in the bathroom.
So, but he was supposed to help try to find a radio or something for JJ. So then yeah, so James comes in, and well, yeah, you take it from there. James comes in.
James comes in, and then I guess well, I didn't get to watch the episode because someone was rushing me to get off the thing, so you need to finish.
Okay, so James comes in, and he yells, he's like busting that Florida's like, what you doing here? What you doing here? And he comes up with a lame excuse, talking about, well, JJ took my red and black checkered shirt. And Florida's like, you're wearing it. He was like, well, whatever. Anyway, and Florida is like, you just came over because you miss JJ. We all do. The kids do. We all do. And then Mr. Jackson comes in, and he's still, James still ain't backing down. He's telling Mr. Jackson to get out of his own house, and Leroy's like, this is my own house. You ain't got to leave. Yeah, I ain't got to leave or whatever. And so anyway, so Mr. Jackson's like, no, James, this time you're gonna listen to what I have to say. And then James is like, well, what do you, basically, what do you have to say? And Mr. Jackson's like, I'm sorry. And then see, this is the part where I kind of agree with the executive producer. Like, James just backs down and says, okay, he accepts his apology. Like, that's it. You rant and raving, having JJ walk out of your house because your pride won't let this thing go that's been, over 20 years ago or 20 years ago. And so it's like, so all he said was he's sorry, and now you just accepts the apology. Like that part. I mean, yeah, for a while that part, it's not until I read your the executive producer, your brother's notes.
Executive producer brother.
Okay, it's too long to say. Executive producer. Anyway, his notes. And so I agree. I was like, that's kind of, I wouldn't just willy-nilly, I don't know. I wouldn't accept it. So I don't know. It just seems like that's it. You just, after all that ranting and raving, that's all it took was just a apology or whatever. And then you're letting it go. I don't think I would have let it go that quick. If I was writing for the James character, I would kind of like say something else. I don't know. It just seemed like all too quick.
Yeah,
But
I think
nonetheless, he accepts the apology. He lets JJ continue to, continue to help JJ, and that's about it. You know, all he was saying after all these years was like, "Oh, James, I'm sorry," and then James just just accepts it. I mean, I'm not saying that's he shouldn't, but it I don't know.
Yeah, I
It
think
just
he
seems,
could have. Yeah, there could have been a little bit more context to Mr. Leroy Jackson. They could have just said, he could have said,
yeah,
"Hey, this is what happened. This is why I stole the $250, and I changed the $250 so I can do this, and made a good, I made a good living for myself. I started my business, and I understand that stealing from your friends is not right, and I've learned my lesson, and I've been
yeah,
trying to get in,
and then he could have just went into very quickly, just like, this is why I want to help JJ, because this is my way of paying you back of what I stole. I want to help, and I want to, whatever. And then that would have been it. Then let James accept the apology.
yeah, have a talk about it. Just a little bit
And
more
that,
context about Mr.
just
Jackson,
a
not
little.
just
It don't have to be a long contest. Just a little to explain himself, and then that's it. But just to, I'm sorry. I mean, it just, yeah. That's what I would change.
yeah, I think this like I said, it's this episode just underwhelming. It's just pretty cut and dry. I mean,
Yeah.
what can you say? You know, the only thing that I noticed that there's no Alona in this episode.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
no Alona, so I can't. There's nothing to say about anything special. Um,
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I know what I noticed in this episode
yeah,
when I watched it. Okay, so when Michael is sitting there, in one take, he's in his bathrobe.
yeah,
Then after, it's you would have to look at it. But he's in his bathrobe in one take, and then immediately the next take, he's like fully clothed in regular clothes. That's what I know. That's one thing that I noticed. I was like, what? Why did they do that? And I mean, I mean, I guess it won't be obvious if you're just willy nilly watching the episode. You probably didn't notice.
no, I didn't notice, but that's good
I watched it.
detail. I kind of noticed Florida's nails. They were silveryish, or I was like, what's up with her nails? Um, I don't know if it's her nails are just metallic looking.
Where did it change?
Well, she would when James was sitting in the chair, she had her. When they were arguing or something, I guess is when JJ they were trying to before JJ was about to leave. James was sitting in the chair and she had her hands on his shoulder as he was sitting down, and you just see you know, just a camera shot of James and her fingers on his shoulder, and I'm looking and I'm like, why they look like that? Have to look again later, but uh, other than that, I can't think of anything else to say about this. It was just a boring episode to me. I mean, JJ gets a patron. It's very sitcom-y, where everything's tied up at the end. I know there's
Uh,
more detail. There was another reference to God about when Florida and James was trying to challenge, trying to see if there was a God, and they're talking about the wristwatch thing
oh
that
yeah.
God wouldn't stop the watch or something like that, and then God did stop the watch, and so I'm like, there's another reference to God and religion, I guess. Um, Other than that, I just, everybody's. I think James is very nice, I mean, dressed nice. His slacks are nice.
With red and black checkered shirt.
Yeah, his slacks are nice. Michael looks like a kid, of course. Obviously, he's, you know, Thelma, she's got those little banger things, ball bangers in her hair. You say I used to wear those.
All things.
The rubber band balls. The
Oh
rubber bands
yeah, yeah, yeah,
used to hurt your head if you like snap them.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like those, but I used to wear them all the time when I was a kid. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, Thelma, she looks cute in her outfit. Very Marsha Brady-ish,
Yeah.
and not
About
too much
this
I got to say about this one. I mean,
shirt.
what? Huh?
Michael has this ugly green shirt. It's like once I'm telling you, one scene he's in his bed. He just rolled out of bed,
Yeah.
and then the next scene he's fully clothed. Like what? Yeah.
Um,
Well, Florida has on this all orange outfit and the orangey kind of
what is it?
coat.
What's up with the orange? Her outfits are like sort of like somebody took one piece of fabric and sewed like three outfits. They're all orange. I mean,
Yeah.
as the series goes on, it's like a polyester orange feel. I mean, I get orange is makes her skin pop out, which she knows her
Uh,
colors, but at the same time, it's kind of redundant and I don't like it. But then again, what else can she wear? I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's 2024 where we can like, spruce her up or nothing or give her like a makeover. Oh well.
yeah.
But her nails, yeah, if you can find, you can look at that. It's it's a little different. But other than that, what would you change about this episode?
The ending, like the ending, like I had said, that needs more, like you said, needs more context in the dialogue between, right before James apologizes
I
to
think I would
just,
have go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, I mean, just like I said, it needs to, Mr. Jackson needs to, should explain himself and then explain, how helping JJ is like repayment back. Helping JJ is like, this is how I want to repay you back the $250 that I stole. That's it. And then that's when James apologizes. Like I said, that's really the only thing I would change. I mean,
I
this
think
episode,
I would just what was that?
I mean, like you said, this episode was kind of it
Yeah.
was
I think I would have to add something to the storyline. I mean, like say like Eric Monte brought this. I'm like, you got to add something else. It's just it's just kind of bland and just lays there. I would probably say maybe something like open up the story with, Mr. Jackson. You know what I would do, Dre? Oh my gosh, here's a blast from the past. Have him be like the bike owner from on Different Strokes. Remember on Different Strokes where he tried to touch Deadly? And he makes Dead. Remember we made that bike owner made Deadly take his shirt off? Well, the bike Mr. Jackson makes JJ take his shirt off so he can look
yeah.
at him. And then James walks in and he's like, "Is this what you do? You wanted my son not only to give him money for the paints, but you wanted him to look at him. That'd be so 2024." And then James, of course, fights him and stuff like that. I mean, because I'm like, there's got to be something else. Why does this guy just want to give him money just for paintings? What, I mean, oh, because he thinks he's going to be. I mean, how do you know that? I mean, I guess because he's very talented, but it's just, is that something that people do? They just, I guess they see somebody's a talent and they just give them a Patron. Usually in the lower income neighborhoods, don't they usually sponsor athletes more than artists? Or am I wrong? Sometimes they sponsor other artists, right?
Athletes, yeah.
Yeah, they're more apt to sponsor athletes than artists. How would he know that JG's an artist? Was JG out in the corner, displaying his paintings?
Probably downtown trying to sell his paintings.
Okay. I don't know. There's just something else. There should have been another little bit compounding with this episode. There's just something else, not just, oh, JJ wants a patron and his father kicks him out. Maybe something else with the father kicks him out where JJ's like, okay, since you're gonna kick me out, I'm never coming back. But you know, they wouldn't have a show if if he lived in a different area, so that's not gonna happen. Yeah, there's just got to be something else with this episode. It's just boring. On to the next one. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of why I didn't really want to. I didn't have to watch it again because
oh,
I'm
okay.
like a couple of times. So,
Yeah.
oh, oh yeah,
All right. Well, that's all I got for another episode of Hanging and Jiving.
hanging out in the
Hanging and
job.
Jiving. Do we give this one a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Oh, we're doing that
No?
now. How
Are you
we do?
good?
What about a sideways? Okay, you look weird. You need to cut that part out
All
because you look.
righty.
Uh
See you
oh.
later.
Okay, hanging in the job.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.